Hey, Coach Candace here with Achieve Wellness and Fitness, and I've been asked by one of my clients, and I've also been asked similar questions in the past by other clients at other events, and about approaching like your mindset on competition day. And so I thought I'd sit down and do a little video and to give folks some perspective. Many of our clients, we have 7 teams that are going to an area CrossFit competition next weekend. But these are tips that perhaps if you are going to a competition or a race or an event of some sort, to have like some mental mindset tips in mind. Now some of these might be geared towards next weekend, but you could probably use them however. So I made some notes to self here, some topics I want to discuss. So not fully inclusive, but some things that came top of mind that are some of my early advice to those who are doing a competition. And many of my folks are doing one for the first time. But in this case, like the event that we're going to has 3 workouts. So my encouragement is one event at a time. Now, many times I go to a competition, there is one event that I know is probably not my wheelhouse and I can't wait to get that done and over with because I'm going to enjoy the rest of the day. And perhaps, as we go to this competition, that might be the case here, or there's one event I'm really looking forward to. But ultimately, focusing on one event at a time. So, for example, like focusing on event 1. Don't worry about something you feel that you may not be good at in event 2 or event 3. Like, we have time to think about those, but let's just focus on event 1 and doing our best in event 1. So, giving your all in that moment, but likewise, once event 1 is over and done, move on. If it went your way, fabulous. But if it did not, like, dwelling on that during event 2 is not going to help you in event 2. So kind of, acknowledge, I wish, maybe some things had gone better there or it didn't quite turn out as I expected. But we need to kind of portion that off and forget about it and move on, because now we got to give all of our mental effort and physical effort to event 2. So one event at a time, and move on if you don't feel like as though it went well. My next point, and again, none of these are in any particular order, just as things came to mind and I made notes about them. But one is you are not your placing. Many folks might dwell on, well, I don't want to come in last, or I feel like I should have done better. Like, you are not your placing. So like in some things, like I say, if I look at my placing, but I often start off with the question, like, did you give your full effort? Like, did you hold back in any way, or was there a moment in time that you could have pushed harder? Like, if I can look back on an event and say, no, I feel like I gave it my all, and I don't know that I could have pushed harder in that moment, then if I gave my best, then I gave my best. There's nothing else I could have changed. Like, the only time I have a harder time with it, I'm I know I could have done better than that. That's when, I kind of have a harder time with the placing, because then it's and then I feel like it's a little bit more my fault. But if you know that you gave your full effort in that moment, then there's nothing else you can ask for. Like, if you gave your best, you gave your best, and this is just where your best landed you today, relative to also whoever showed up at the competition. So, because again, every competition is generally a new group of people who each all have their things that they're very good at and things they have an opportunity to improve in, and it's just how you showed up and placed relative to those people during the day. But again, we'll talk more about placing related topics, which kind of, again, moving on, there's no losses, there's only lessons. So if anything, I've gone to a competition, and if something I felt I got beat at that, or that didn't go how I thought, to me, I don't think oh God, I'm a failure, I'm never gonna make it after that. To me, that's my lesson, okay, that's what I need to work on. And honestly, kind of touch upon this in the book that I wrote, in that, for example, having a DNF at Ironman Florida, and I, again, might feel like a loss, and it definitely did feel like a loss in the moment, but it was a lesson in that I need to work better on my biking. And I took what I learned in that race, worked on my biking, and had a successful races the following year. So similarly, I'm just gonna, make up, I don't know, let's say this particular competition has likely intervals on the assault bike for many people. Maybe that's a point where you slow down. You're okay, well, I need to work more on improving my short bursts of intensity, on the assault bike. So if that portion of the workout tends to hold you back. Or another aspect of the workout is, let's say, the burpees. Like, okay, maybe I need to work on better burpee endurance or burpee efficiency, like whatever it might be. So like, to me, like, okay, I didn't lose at that workout. I learned something I need to work on in training and go back and work on it. So no losses, only lessons. And, wherever you feel like you could have done better, then that's your opportunity to work on. So it doesn't mean it's a failure and you should never do another competition again. It's just what you need to work on to improve at the next competition. And then I also too, like the competition we're going to is a women only competition. And to me, I look at this, and again, I have many of my clients, many of whom are moms and have little ones. And I just think that this is just a great example for our children. Myself, I'm 44. Many of my clients are, 35 to 55 with, of course, some outliers. But, and I'm sure at this competition, we're going to meet women of many ages and abilities. And I just think, like, having grown up in a generation where you saw like all the women, and maybe partly even women still like of my age, like many times they were socialized and encouraged to be as small as possible. It was more about how little can I weigh and focusing on that number on the scale. But how amazing is it that we're in this circumstance where we're celebrating women being strong and fit and challenging themselves. And while yes, everybody might be on their own health journey there, maybe not everyone is trying to be the smallest version of themselves, but to be the strongest, most powerful and enduring version of themselves. So to me, I think that's just an amazing celebration of what this competition or any competition is like, is a celebration of your ability and what your body can do. Like, nobody that day cares what your weight is on the scale, but just how do you perform that day. So so kind of going into it with that mindset, and I think about myself, like I have an upcoming race, and revisiting my whys for that reason to pursue the event. And one of those is like, if you'd ask me, like, for example, in my own personal journey, the heaviest I was at one point was 220 pounds. And if you ask 220 pound me of I don't know, what is it, 10 years ago now, like that I'd be doing any of the things that I have done or am doing today, I would think you're crazy. And for many of my clients, this is their first time. Maybe they've been working out for a year and they're really getting outside their comfort zone. So that's really also another one of my points, like recognizing your progress in fitness. Like, did you ever envision yourself doing something like this? Like, then just be out there and be proud of like what your body can do. Like, it's a celebration of what your body can do. And, so just be proud of that. So, and which it kind of ties in with the next one is your family loves you regardless of your placing. If you placed last, you go home, like your husband or your significant other still loves you. Your children still love you. Like, your family still loves you. Like, perhaps you're the only one who's emphasizing the placing, but they're gonna still love you anyway. They're still gonna cheer and clap for you regardless of the place that you're coming in, and they're just gonna be happy to be a part of you enjoying this day. And probably one of my last points here is it's not a representative of your total fitness, but just your fitness on that given day. So I've been trapped in that, like, at one point in time, like maybe a day didn't go that well, and I thought like, is this like a determinant of how I am as an athlete? But just kind of recognizing, no, that was just how I performed on that given day, good or bad. But again, going back, like, it's just a lesson in what I need to work on better. And sometimes it's not even competition day. Like, what are the things you could have dialed in previously as far as your lifestyle pre-competition? But then we can't always guarantee like a perfect lead up to competition though either. So it's just representative of your fitness on that given day. It doesn't mean like, let's say you did come in last, like it doesn't mean you should give it up. It's just stuff that you need to work on, and perhaps we do better the next time. But again, like, competition day is you just never know who's going to show up, and that's just you relative to whoever's there that day. So I hope you found that all helpful. So again, number one, you are not your placing. Your family loves you, God loves you, regardless of how well you do or don't do. There's only learning. There's no losses. There's only learning. But just be proud for being out there, because also too, like, there's many people who are capable of competing and don't, because they don't want to be seen not performing to expectations, or they don't want to be seen failing. Like, so be proud of that, because there's lots of people who could do it but don't, because they don't want to be seen at the bottom or struggling. So it takes a lot of courage to get out there and struggle and fight for something that you want, and not everybody's willing to do that. So be proud of that. And again, like, your family loves you regardless. And again, at the end of the day, someone also reminded me, like, it's just fitness. Like, it's just burpees, it's just riding a bike, it's just rowing, it's just squats. Like, we are not curing cancer in this competition. Like, at the end of the day, it's just fitness. So, like, yes, we have paid to go flop ourselves on the ground, pick a dumbbell up over our head. Like, don't make it any bigger than it needs to be. Like, it is really just simple, and it is just fitness. So go out and have fun. Like, some of my main things, like some of my main goals when I go to a competition is, one, have fun. Like, because if you're not going to have fun, then don't go do it. Like, life is too short to do things that you don't enjoy. So, like, when I go, like, I'm there to enjoy myself. Like, this is my fun. Number two, don't get hurt. Like, that's generally my goal. I mean, I can't guarantee that. I'm going to do my best. But if I walk away, I had fun, and then I didn't get hurt, like, okay, top two of my day. And number three is, I often try to do better than I did in practice. Does it always happen? No. Many times, like, you either accomplish the same as what you did in practice, or maybe a smidge better, occasionally a smidge worse. Because again, we don't always do all of 3 events in one day to practice. And, you know, again, it's just another learning for competition day. How do I manage through doing multiple events in one day? But again, so like, again, a fun thing about competition is you often do more than you could have done in practice, because you have the extra adrenaline and cheering of of competition, that you just can't quite mimic or replicate in training. So that is just another fun feature of competition, and that you end up surprising yourself in some way. So really, again, should be a fun day. And again, we just go out to do this and have fun. And again, who would ever thought that we'd be here? So I hope you found that helpful. As always, by any means, ask any questions, or is there a particular mindset challenge that you're faced with that maybe I didn't discuss? Because I'm sure as soon as I conclude this video today, something else will come to mind that I should have said. So please don't hesitate to ask. And I appreciate you listening this far, if you did listen all the way through. So, and thank you for bearing with me as I deal with this little head cold here. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.